Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'd just like to start for a moment and say that I was very, very appreciative of so many of Governor Cuomo's proposals today. Speaking on behalf of the people of New York City, I thought there was a lot in this speech that will make the lives of New Yorkers better. I found his agenda to be a progressive, proactive agenda for the future of our state, and obviously so many of the agenda items will be particularly helpful to the people of New York City. I particularly appreciate that he had, I think, a very proactive worldview on questions of education, in terms of the environment, in terms of resiliency and readiness. I looked at the totality of the speech, and I thought it was a tremendous roadmap for the future. There was a passion in his voice on protecting the rights of women, which I agree with 100%. And I appreciated the fact that the governor made that a focal point of the speech, the need to come back and pass that long overdue legislation. I appreciated the passion he put forward on the question of fighting discrimination and share his feeling that any public official who does not divulge that there's acts of discrimination going on, particularly affecting our young people, has to feel the consequences. So I thought there was a thread running through this entire speech, connecting it to the historic progressive values of our state and certainly of New York City. So I'm very gratified by the ideas the governor put forward. I'm excited by his agenda. I was very excited on a tangible level by his proposals to upgrade our airports. It's a long overdue priority, and I could hear again his resolve to get that done. I think that's a tremendously important initiative. I appreciated his focus on mass transit. I can certainly say for people in the Eastern Bronx, this was music to their ears and to the ears of all of us who care about the future of New York City to finally get additional mass transit to a part of the city that hasn't gotten enough. So there really were so many important items in the governor's speech. And I just am excited to get to work supporting this initiative and helping him to get it done. I'll just say on one other note, this is, of course, my first visit to Albany as mayor of New York City. And I just want to say how gratified I am by the friendly and positive reception that I've been honored to receive from members of the Senate, members of the Assembly, in the sense that everyone's ready to work together. And so I just want to say I think it's been a very positive day as I prepare to build a very constructive working relationship with all the leaders in Albany. And I think this speech will be a great roadmap for so much of our work going forward. With that, Dave, sorry.
Mayor, can we ask you, I think that one line, especially with you, kind of rang out that it's time for New York to have a universal pre-K statewide. Was that enough for you? You keep pushing on what you want, or was that enough?
Well, I think it was a broad statement of principle. It was a fantastic statement. I think what's happening in our city, in our state, in our country is there is a rapidly growing understanding that early childhood education will frame our future. I think the president has spoken passionately about this. The governor has spoken repeatedly about this. I think today he set the goal, and it's absolutely the right goal for our city and state. We have a specific way to get there. We believe it's the right way to get there for New York City, and we look forward to achieving that and leading the way for the state in this effort. But I think it was very important, very promising. The governor laid it out as a strategic goal for the whole state.
But if we have universal pre-K in New York State, then why do you need to?
Well, again, what I heard, and we'll certainly see more over the coming weeks, is I heard him say this is the goal for our state. Of course, any leader puts forward their goals, and then you have to figure out how to achieve it. I'm suggesting that what we have done already in proposing a way to get it done in New York City is complementary to the governor's goal. We have a way to get it done with our own resources. We'd obviously like the support of leaders here in Albany to make sure that we can do that. But the governor, I think, was saying today that he is affirming his belief that this is where we ultimately need to go as a state. We specifically in New York City have a way to get it done, and we look forward to doing it. Yes?
How did you react to Ray Kelly being appointed by the governor?
I think it's a great choice. Look, I've worked with Ray Kelly for over 20 years. I have a lot of respect for him. I think he knows a lot, obviously, on how to protect us from terrorism. There's some areas where I've disagreed with him, obviously. But I think in terms of this particular work, he has a lot to offer in terms of what the governor is trying to achieve.
Were you disappointed that the governor didn't mention you by name when talking about pre-K, since this has been such a centerpiece of your
I don't think of things that way. I think it's fantastic that he's talking about this becoming a goal for the whole state. As I said, he had talked about this issue over time, as has President Obama. So I think you have to understand, I'm going to keep reminding people, Governor and I have worked closely together for almost 20 years. We have a very close working relationship. I talk to him a lot. We see eye to eye on many, many things. So I was gratified for all of us who care about this issue that he put it front and center.
So you don't see, sorry.
You're taking advantage of your close location, aren't you? Okay, now everyone's going to kneel with the microphone up front. Yes.
So you don't see a conflict here with philosophy on taxes, with whose taxes should be raised, who should be cut. Obviously, the governor's going more toward property taxes, business tax cuts. He's not talking about taxing the wealth.
I think there's not a dichotomy because you have two levels of government. And I think what the simplest way I'd say this is that we want respect, mutual respect for the two levels of government. The state, the governor has his vision of what's best for the state. I think he's laid out a very positive vision today. And I want to be of assistance to him in achieving his vision. But when it comes to my city, we clearly believe that we have to make major changes in terms of how we educate our children. We have to do a lot better. And we have the ability to tax those in our city who have done very well and get that help to our children and to our families, and that's what we want to do. So I think the state has a vision for the state, and I respect that vision. We have a vision for our own city, and we simply want an acknowledgement of that so we can move forward. And I want to remind everyone, some people in this room I haven't had the opportunity to know well before. You know, the previous three mayors, Mayor Bloomberg, Mayor Giuliani, Mayor Dinkins, all came to Albany asking for the opportunity to tax our own people for crucial initiatives. In each and every case, Albany agreed and respected the right of New York City to make its own decision on revenue. I believe that that trend will continue. I believe that respect will be shown in New York City again, and we will be able to move forward on our agenda for full-day pre-K and for after-school. Yes? I think she's going to be a great speaker of the City Council. I have to say she is a tremendously intelligent, purposeful, good human being. She has got a real heart. She cares deeply for the people of the city. You know, I've talked a lot in the last year about the tale of two cities and trying to combat inequality. Melissa is someone who feels that in her heart and soul. She has put so much of her life into fighting inequality, into fighting for those who are less advantaged. I think if you get to know her, you see the keen intelligence, the energy, the urgency she brings to her work. So I'm very excited for her. I think she's going to be a fantastic speaker of the City Council. I think she's going to be a great partner in government. Now, if you know Melissa, you also know she's a very independent person. And I think we're going to agree on a lot of things because we have a very similar philosophy, but there'll be times when we disagree. And I know that she will fight energetically for what she believes is right. But she won resoundingly, obviously in the end unanimously. I would say as a matter of history, she put together the most support for any candidate for speaker earlier than anyone has ever done it. And that is a testament to her strength, to her intelligence, to her values, and the fact that she attracted a lot of support. So I'm just really looking forward to working with her. Yes, in the behind.
What do you think about the fact that the governor didn't mention anything about the DREAM Act or immigration?
Well, I think the governor covered a number of areas. I thought it was a very comprehensive speech. Obviously, I do think we should move forward on the DREAM Act. I feel that as a matter of philosophy, and I also feel that as someone representing the people of New York City, where we have a particular understanding of what immigrants experience and a particular understanding of the fact that a lot of our young people who would benefit from the DREAM Act really deserve a chance to experience and benefit from the whole of American society. And I know when we pass the DREAM Act, I'm ultimately looking forward to, you know, the full federal DREAM Act being passed and the full and comprehensive immigration reform being passed. But when we finally right this wrong, you're going to see some of the most talented young people contributing to our society in ways they have not been able to because of restrictions. So I think we have to pass it, and I'm going to work hard to pass it. Yes?
Mary, your predecessor was very active in some of the intramural battles in Albany. He was a big donor to the Senate Republicans. How active do you intend to be on that regard? Obviously, there's a big election battle for control of the state Senate this year. Do you intend to campaign for Senate Democrats to help them?
Look, first of all, I intend to work with every part of the Albany spectrum. You know, I went to receptions today and gatherings of the Assembly and the Assembly Democrats, the Senate Democrats, the IDC. I'm looking forward to going to the gathering that Senator Skelos has put together, obviously going to the governor's reception later on. So my job as mayor of New York City is to literally work with the whole spectrum of leaders and all the elements to make up the government here. We need and understand the history. We need support from Albany. We see Albany as our partners, and that means every part of the spectrum in Albany. That being said, I'm a Democrat. I'm a proud Democrat. No one is ever going to be surprised when I help Democrats, but I will work respectfully with all of the leaders here. Yes?
What do you think about the idea of giving $20,000 bonuses to teachers, highly effective teachers based on teacher evaluations? I know you've had raised some concerns about tying test scores to the ratings.
Well, there's a couple, I'll say it very quickly, I think a couple different pieces. I do not believe we should overweight standardized test scores in the way that we make evaluations. So that's one thought. But the second point is I believe it's appropriate for strategic reasons to give bonuses, for example, when we have teachers work in some schools that are really struggling, when we have teachers work in math and science, which are areas we need more capacity in. I do not believe, for example, in merit pay, but I do believe in special bonusing for strategic goals. Yes?
More than half of the tax cuts the governor has outlined go toward upstate New York. Is there enough in there to help keep New York City competitive?
Well, I think there's I have to say this because I know a lot about the state of New York, including upstate, and I've worked all over the state. When I had the honor of working for then Secretary, now Governor Cuomo at HUD. I was the regional representative for New York State and New Jersey. So I appreciate the challenges of the upstate economy, and as governor, I think he's absolutely right to focus on those challenges. We have a different set of challenges. I think part of the way of looking at this is I think that upstate has particular economic challenges that have to be met, and taxation policy is one of the tools to address that. We have an education challenge that is profound that we have to address, and using taxation policy in a different way is how we can achieve that. So I think there are different approaches depending on the issue you're trying to address and where you're trying to address it. But I have to tell you, I respect his focus on upstate New York. I respect his particular focus on Buffalo. I was sitting next to Byron Brown, who's a longstanding friend. And as a mayor, you can't help but feel solidarity with your fellow mayors. Buffalo's been through a lot, and I think the governor's right to focus on helping to bring Buffalo back.
One or two more, guys.
Yes, Grace.
House Majority Leader Eric Cantor said that your charter school plan to charge rent to charter schools would be devastating, would devastate kids, and would possibly be in conflict with federal programs aimed at increasing school choice.
I don't typically look for education advice from Eric Cantor. We have a real difference on where this country should go going forward. I respect him as a leader in our Congress, but I just think he's dead wrong on this issue. What we've said is, by the way, consistent with cities and states all over the nation that think it is normal to charge rent for public facilities like we do in so many other cases. I've said, however, to be even more lenient, that I would only charge rent from charter organizations that have substantial financial endowment. I know there are some charters, including some standalone charters, that do not have substantial resources, and they would not be charged rent. So I think I've offered a kind of sliding scale approach that makes sense for a city, by the way, with tremendous needs. The money we would get from that rent would be reinvested in our schools to help serve more children more effectively. But I want to emphasize, and I hope Mr. Cantor looks at these facts, you look all over the country, the norm is to charge rent when school space is made available for outside organizations.
Last question, guys.
Yes.
How was your first week as mayor?
It was wonderful. Thank you for asking. It was wonderful. I did not expect a snowstorm. I'm very upset because Phil Walczak did not have that in the strategic plan for the week. He did not say, he was supposed to tell me 10 days or 14 days early that there very disappointing. Phil, I think you have to think about that, okay? But no, I think everyone on the team performed brilliantly. When you think about all of the moving parts, obviously we were deep into a transition, naming people. We had the inauguration. We had the snowstorm, our pre-K campaign getting off to bat. People on this team have performed brilliantly with tremendous teamwork, and it's been a very energizing experience. And I just want to continue the progress we have achieved in our first 8 days. Thank you very much, everyone.